You have now entered the cosmic radio receptors of KCRW 100.7 FM in Brookings, Oregon. Thank you for tuning into this week's fabulous program. Super fabulous. I'm Dr. Gigi, and my co-host is, as always, Jacque Kepner. How are you today, Jacque?
Greetings, everyone. A big shout out to our sound engineers, Ray Simon and Tom Bozak, for making this program possible. Happy Wednesday, everyone. We're officially 1 day away from being 6 days before next week when we will be doing exactly what we're doing right now, but in 8 days from now, minus that one extra day, which is today. All right. Welcome to the Doc and Jacques Show. I want to mention that you are hearing this live show on KCIW in Brookings, Oregon. That said, this same show should be being rebroadcast in exactly 1 week from now, each and every Wednesday on KZZH 96.7 FM in Eureka, Humboldt at 8 a.m. in the morning. Got to rise up early for that one. And then a few hours later at 1 p.m. on my old alma mater, KFUG 101 FM in Crescent City, California. So now you know, Dr. Gigi and I have your coasts covered. Today's Doc and Jacques show is a bit different in that we do not have a guest, a musician, a savant, or messiah on this show. Rather, Dr. Gigi Reed and I will be following a fun path of exploring multiple topics and issues, and these kind of shows, which happen irregularly, are always some of the most fun to do and produce.
Right.
Today's show happens to be our 81st episode of this Doc and Jacques show, and over the course of all these shows, we have hosted well over, conservatively 160 people.
Oh, yeah.
Interesting, entertaining people who make a difference in our coastal communities. Above all else, we wish to thank all of our listeners, and I know a lot of you, you know who you are, and I'm thinking of you all right now, who make the show possible and who listen and give their support and critique and enjoy it. So it's allowed us, your listenership has allowed us to let this show grow beyond our wildest dreams.
Right. Yes. So thank you so much for your support and input, dear listeners. I will lead off our little chatting chair segment.
Chatting chairs.
That's us.
Chatting chairs.
Of the show hour with some necessary for life trivia, or unnecessary, really.
No, it's necessary because it's the air you breathe and the water you drink.
Jacque and I were discussing what would be fun subjects to explore, and we came up with what is air?
Air, A-I-R. Okay? Yes, indeed. For self-inflationary scientists like me,
right,
I found out these amazing facts. Air mainly consists of nitrogen, 78%, and oxygen, 21%, and argon, slight amount there, along with a few other trace amounts of gases like carbon dioxide and neon. Yes, I said neon. Now I know, Doctor, why I leave such bright imprints on people.
I still don't get that.
I'm a legend in my own neon sparkling mind. You see? Can you top that, dear Doctor?
Oh, I shall try and probably succeed. Let's start with the nitrogen, almost 78%, right? Well, 78 and some square ones in there. Let's ask the obvious question. Why the heck do we have so much nitrogen? And what are we doing with it? And wouldn't it be better to just have a bunch of oxygen instead?
Right, because when you say air, they immediately go just oxygen. They
right?
just think but it's not. It's by far nitrogen.
Right, and exactly.
Now I know.
So the short answer is that we would be on the dead side if we had much more oxygen around us. So the primary advantage of the nitrogen is actually to dilute the oxygen, making it safer for life.
Interesting.
Oxygen is essential for respiration, but a pure oxygen atmosphere would be highly flammable and dangerous. Therefore, nitrogen acts as a buffer, reducing the risk of fire and other oxidation reaction. Additionally, nitrogen is crucial, very important for the so-called nitrogen cycle, which provides nitrogen to plants and is essential for the formation of amino acids and proteins, the building blocks of life.
Whoa, that's really cool because I thought nitrogen was just fertilizer.
What?
So does that mean we still have to make our amino acids?
We
too?
still we have some essential amino acids, but yes, we do make most of our amino acids, and we also make our genetic material, which contains a bunch of nitrogen.
Whoa, I thought so. So now I know that I'm not just a bunch of bull fertilizer. All right, here's a fun fact. Nitrogen is sometimes used to inflate tires because it leaks through the tire casings much slower than oxygen, which helps it maintain consistent air pressure.
I wonder if they can do that here, and probably wouldn't explode either, right?
Okay.
Not that tires explode all the time. Yeah, so let's go back to the oxygen.
Oxygen.
At an atmospheric concentration of almost 21%, cells can use it and make water out of it. And doing so, they gain energy. So that's a reduction reaction. They reduce the chemical of its energy, basically.
Okay.
Oxygen is essential to all animals.
Yep, all of us.
And at a higher concentration, as said before, oxygen is a poison because we cannot neutralize the so-called, get ready, reactive oxygen species. Or spectrum,
okay.
ROS.
ROS, okay.
21% oxygen is ideal for most life. We have the neutralizing agents that can deal with it and can't deal with those.
You can't have the higher concentration.
At a higher concentration.
Otherwise, it's bad. Okay, but remember those cocktail bars that we used to have see popping up a few years ago? They're real popular. The ones where you'd go in and get on a face mask and sip pure oxygen. What was that all about? And how could those people survive? Like booze, pure oxygen would be bad for us, right?
Right. Good point.
Yeah, darn right.
Yeah. The oxygen bars actually deliver oxygen at about 40%.
Oh, they're ripping it off by adding air to it. Darn it. It's just like...
Yeah, so they don't give 100%. It's just 40%. And 40% is considered safe for short times. Whoa. It does, however, increase the likelihood of us making these reactive oxygen species, which are bad for us, right?
Okay.
Let's move on to argon.
Argon.
About 1% of it is in the air. Argon is a noble gas. It does not interact with anything.
But I do. My nickname was King Argon, and I was so full of noble gas when I was younger. So tell us more about argon, dear doctor.
Argon, the noble gas, is a byproduct of the radioactive decay of mostly potassium. There is
sound good.
The radioactive potassium out there, and it accumulates at only 1%, almost 1%. Because this is how it accumulates. It doesn't react with anything. It doesn't react further. It's just there. So it hangs out in our air because it doesn't react with anything, doesn't decay further or anything. Now, other things hanging out in the air, like carbon dioxide, methane, smell, nitrous oxide, ozone. Those are compounds that trap the Earth's heat and contribute to the greenhouse effect for us to be so nice and warm. Which warms then the planet.
Right on. And fun numbers. The average person breathes about 13 pints of air per minute. That's one more pint than I drink every hour.
How much is a pint?
I don't know. Don't ask me this question. I know, but I'd like to
almost
know.
a pound or something.
And it takes around, we take around 17,000 breaths per day.
That's a lot.
It's amazing. Our lungs exchange oxygen from inhaled air for carbon dioxide. They exchange it. On average, people consume about 100 gallons of that pure oxygen daily, but it's diluted, as you said.
It's diluted 20%. And also, I want to point something out.
What?
The oxygen from the air that the plants poop out and we breathe in is not the oxygen of the CO2. So oxygen is O2 and CO2 is CO2, but those oxygens are not related. The oxygen we're breathing in, we turn into water, H2O.
I know that.
And the carbon dioxide that we breathe out, CO2, is the leftover from the food we're eating.
Whoa.
I find that spectacular.
That is amazing. Okay, Doc, that was fun and interesting. There is nothing more exciting than air. Okay, wait a minute. All right, can we now move on to something, I think, which is much more deep? It's in a deep pool of water, and bold and amazing and exhilarating, like Water.
Water?
H2O.
H2O? Yeah, we did talk about H2O. All right, so you're right. Scientifically, water is an amazing thing.
It is.
So as you remember, you and I are made up mainly of water, and the world is covered mainly with water.
Yep.
And we cannot survive without water. Pretty amazing. So yes, water is crucial for our world, to our world, in our health and welfare.
Okay, well, tell me more about water. My German-born, multilingual, patent-holding research scientist and medical doctor. Hit me with your best shots.
Yeah, I didn't really do all that with water, but I'll tell you something. Water is a molecule consisting of 2 hydrogen atoms covalently bonded, that's the strongest bond, to 1 oxygen atom, hence H2O.
Got it.
So many chemicals out there can exist at 7 different stages.
Okay, like?
So water can exist as a solid, and we call it
Ice.
ice.
Not the kind of ice that's being out there arresting people right now.
No, ICE, ice.
Yes,
Ice cream.
okay.
And a liquid, and then it's called
Water vapor distillation?
water, right. A water,
good.
liquid water. It also can be a gas, and then it's called water vapor.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
Water freezes at 0 degrees.
Which is?
Celsius.
32.
Yeah, so that's how 0 degrees was defined. When does water freeze?
Oh, gotcha.
Oh, this is our
was the
0
benchmark.
point.
That was
the benchmark.
Okay. What about boiling?
Which happens to be 32 degrees Fahrenheit, right?
Okay.
Which is not a good number, but it's the number. And yeah, when it boils at 100 degrees centigrade, that was the other benchmark.
That's what you Germans and Europeans and most people in the world know. That the centigrade.
Just about anybody else,
Fahrenheit,
yes.
yeah.
That's 212. It's another weird number, right? So 212 degrees Fahrenheit, and that's at standard pressure, which means it's different when you go higher up in the mountains. It boils a little earlier.
Cool.
So usually water also has a low compressibility.
Whatever that means.
That means you have a hard time compressing water. And if you compare it with other liquids, they're easily compressed. So that's another anomaly.
Okay.
Water is a polar molecule, meaning it has a slight negative charge on the oxygen side and a slight positive charge on the hydrogen
H
side.
for hydrogen, 2 O. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, so that one makes it very cool actually to deal with. The polarity contributes to a lot of different things. For example, it's a very good solvent.
Water is a good solvent.
It's a very good solvent.
Otherwise, I want to brush my teeth.
And it has a high surface tension.
High surface tension.
Yeah, so if you've ever seen water pond and then those little water walker, those spider-looking things they walk over, usually only because of the water tension being so high.
Water walkers on Star Trek, I saw them.
Okay, water can dissolve more substances than any other liquid, including sulfuric acid.
Now I get it, because I use sulfuric acid to brush my teeth, but last night it didn't turn out too well. When I drink, I sometimes get high, like that surface tension too, surface.
You get high and
Yeah, I know it's that. When I drink, I sometimes get high surface tension.
Okay.
All right. Tell me more about the polarity. What is this polarity stuff? What is it that allows it to dissolve? Yeah, well, whatever. Okay.
That one is
speaking of
better.
water, do you know what happens when I get undressed in the bedroom, dear doctor?
What? In the bathroom or the bedroom?
No. What? Okay, let's go back. Do you know what happens when I get undressed in the bathroom?
Oh, what?
The shower gets turned on. I heard Ray Simon and Tom Bozak laughing at that one earlier.
Well, at least something does, right?
Are you talking about me?
No, I'm just
it was
saying
something
it could
that's
be the
turned on.
faucet or something. Water is also relatively high in density, meaning it is very dense. The little atoms
when
in
it
there are
turns
close
into
together.
Ice?
So that's what you would think. If it's very dense, it's on ice. But guess what? It is more dense when it is at 4 degrees Celsius. That's the highest density. So solid form is actually less dense as the liquid form, which is very cool. That's why ice floats.
That's why ice
Floats, right? It's
I
lighter
used to add
than
like screws and bolts and things like that to my tray to make it sink and trick people, but it never worked.
Wow. And you were a magician
Yeah,
at some point.
that's a pretty good one.
So, and we know when we put our water bottles in the freezer or when you put a can of soda in the freezer, it
I've done that a couple times,
explodes.
Yeah.
So water expands when it freezes
By nearly what?
by 10% or so.
Wow.
But still, if it were at 4 degrees, it is the densest. Nearly 3% of all water on Earth is locked in ice caps and glaciers. Therefore, 90% of the world's supply of fresh water is located in the polar regions.
The polar region. Interesting fact.
Yeah.
That's...
So we already said that another recap, the density anomaly of ice is crucial for the life on Earth. It allows that the lakes and ponds do not freeze from the bottom up, but from the top
down.
Yeah. So when you have the ice shoals floating on the water, it insulates the water below. And it prevents it from freezing solid and destroying all life that is down there. So it supports the aquatic life. Isn't that cool?
All right, I got some great ones. 97% of the world's water is actually salty or otherwise undrinkable.
Oh, no.
That leaves just 1% of fresh water for all of humanity's agricultural, residential, manufacturing, and personal hygiene needs.
Where are the 2% missing then?
Oh, yeah, shoot. She's always pointing out these little inaccuracies. I get away with them when I'm talking fast.
Oh, my goodness. The oceans help regulate the Earth's temperature. That's another tidbit.
Yep. Since we're what? Mainly?
Since we are mainly water, it helps regulate our temperature too.
Cool.
Right? Water carries nutrients and oxygens to cells, as in the plasma, right? Our blood plasma.
Cool.
It cushions joints, as in joint fluid.
Oh, that type. Okay.
Protects organs and tissues, as in whatever serous fluid we have, for example. And it removes the waste, as in pee. 75% of the human brain is water.
Did you say what? 75%?
Yeah.
Well, guess what? I'm more like 95%.
Yeah, Jacque, but we know.
Well, maybe. That isn't a smart thing to say.
A person can live for weeks on end without food, but only about a week without water.
Wow.
About 500 billion gallons of water are used in the United States per day.
No way.
And much of it goes to agriculture and America's hydroelectric facility.
That's right. It's just pumping out those huge dams that pump out trillions of gallons, millions of gallons.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I know that Vegas uses up most of that. Talk about neon abuse.
I mean, we're talking water right now.
I found out that the average swimming pool uses 25,000 gallons of water. And guess what country has the most swimming pools? Who could it be? Maybe America?
Maybe United States.
Yes, so excessive. We're crazy about that.
Wow. Maybe not in Crescent City or Brookings or Harbor.
That's true, yeah. A little bit colder.
Yeah, 80% of all illness in developing countries is water-related. Can you believe that?
What do they call that one disease where you get cholera? No.
Cholera is waterborne.
Waterborne, yeah. Okay,
yeah.
See, I know things.
You do know. So unclean water equals unhealthiness, right?
Okay.
Over 75% of the world's population lives in the driest half of the planet.
Wow.
Put that together. Put that in your smoking pipe.
Right. So more of the world is the population, heavy population.
In the driest half of the planet. So that's why the water is easily made dirty, and because you don't have that much water to deal with. So you have to be reusing the same water or not washing your hands so much. Maybe that's why.
Possibly.
It happens. Okay. Lastly, the world consumes billions of bottles of water every day.
We are so addicted to those stupid
I have one right
They're
here.
everywhere, right?
Bottles made from petrochemical plastics, and they're not that healthy.
Yeah.
We have spent many trillions of dollars on bottled water.
I mean, worldwide, trillions and quadrillions of money people buying bottled water.
Now get this.
Okay.
If we took about 1/3 of that money spent on bottled water per year.
1/3 of the total of the whole world.
Yeah. We could collectively build hundreds of desalination facilities take this water out of the seawater along Earth's coastlines to quench the thirst of every human alive.
I was shocked at some of the statistics showing how much of the world, I think over half the world, does not have access to clean water. And it's
Right?
like
I mean, how many people live in the dry?
Carry their water. But if we just took 1/3 of all the money that the world spends on bottled water in 1 year, we'd be able to build hundreds of very costly, expensive desalination facilities around the world. Man, and we'd quench it forever. There would be no...
until they break down. But it would be worth a try for sure. Now, we went last week, 10 days ago, 12 days ago, we went up the canyon and we got water from the spring, which is fan-flippantastic. It has it has been tested several times according to a source, and it has been deemed very good drinking water. And even I like that water. It has no chlorine in it. It's a spring, right? And we have filled...
It's about 15 miles past Hayuchi, but you kind of wind up, you go over those two bridges like you're going to go over the Smith River and down towards Stout Grove.
Yeah.
You turn left and go up 12 miles.
About 12 miles, yeah.
That's where... Creek Bridge.
Yeah.
Stevens Bridge.
About there. And there's just a pipe. It's just a pipe coming out. And we had like 20 gallons.
21 gallons we filled up. But we had a couple of 5-gallon containers and things like that.
Right.
But it was amazing.
And the water is amazing. So there is still good water out there.
Yeah. We're blessed. We're blessed in this area, and with our clean waters and our clean rivers like the Chetco and the Smith and the Windchuck and the Rogue. The ones that come into Eureka and what. I mean, we're just...
Klamath. We have.
Klamath.
Yeah, we have great rivers. And, I mean, that's where the salmon is, right? Aren't we supposed to have the cleanest river?
Yeah, I mean, the Smith River is one of the cleanest rivers, ranked third, I think, in the world. Always consistently the cleanest river in America. You'd think that's up in Colorado someplace, right?
Right.
Someplace, some mountaintop, but nope. It is not. It is right here in our own backyard. We live in a wonderful place. Speaking of fresh water, Americans flush 6 billion gallons per day through their toilets. 6 billion gallons every day in America.
Right, yeah.
Okay, so that was better and more fluid than I thought it would be. Thank you for that interesting intake on some of that wonderful stuff that we just discussed called air and water. Okay, I'm gonna rush down here. I'm gonna start thanking a couple of our major supporters of this program and others like it on community radio. And we're coming to the end of our program here, where we've been the last 7 months with many of our major...
Not our program.
No.
The supporter program.
Yeah, for the KCIW supporter program and for community radio. And these people have run these entities and individuals and businesses organizations have run the course over the past 7 months. And so we're redoing the project. We're tweaking the program a little bit. And it's simply going to be this. You can be on this community radio stations and talking about your business or entity or organization. There's so many 501c3s that are part of this. And we can get you on the air, multiple spots per day, and it's $100 a month. That's a great, great deal. That was actually, you get in for 3-month chumps, 3-month clips at a time, so it'd be $300 for 3 months. And if you go for a year, we'll give you a free month. So it's $1,100, and it supports community radio.
Right, and you get and you can say your slogan of your outfit that you are supporting community radio.
And it also goes on to our KCIW website.
Right.
And then every program, you and I, we mention these sponsors. These
like you will in a second. Yes, exactly.
And we talk about them. We mention them. And hey, it's a great way to support this community radio station, KCIW, and others like it by getting involved and becoming a major supporter. And for $100 a month for these 24/7, 7 days a week, every month, these spots, it's going to be great. And people... And some of the major supporters are actually Michelle Bubert. I just saw her as I was coming in here at the KCW studios. She waved and we said hello. Michelle Bubert with our own vibrant local Curry County Chamber of Commerce.
Yeah, cool.
We've got right above her is the Marie and Brett Curtis, our next door neighbors at Remax Coast and Country Realty in Brookings. Hey, I heard the airplane come in this afternoon when I was walking, and that's Advanced Airlines was landing. They fly in and out of nearby Crescent City to Oakland and L.A. 7 days a week. We've got Checo Medical Anesthetics Center located right here in Brookings. Big thanks to Dr. John Kirk's Port of Pints Craft Brewery, now with 2 locations in Crescent City, South Beach, and their old one on North Crest. Jim, Doc Bellardi, and his Crescent Land Title and Escrow Company in old downtown Crescent City. He's one that has the bear in his window. I'll bring up a few more of these sponsors, major sponsors, in just a little bit. But you wish to ask me some questions? Is that what we wish you to do?
Yeah, I don't know if we're going to. So I'm going to preamble it before the break because we have the break in just a tiny second. So
people can get involved. This is the time. We're looking for new sponsors to come in and get their spot on the air, be mentioned. And this show is carried at KFUG, and this show is carried at KZZH, both in Crescent City and in Eureka, California. So it's a great way to get your word out there about your community.
Right. So after the break, which is in 3 minutes, we're going to learn more about you.
Wow.
Because I want the audience to learn more about your past. I don't even know if I'm going to start this, but you were an antique store owner and appraiser of art and old stuff, and also a California licensed auctioneer. Do you want to start telling us about that before we go to the break? Then go ahead.
Well, I got to say that I was fortunate. I'm 67 now, but I was fortunate. I was raised in a great, great home, full of antiquities. My parents were major collectors. They were all over the place.
They're hoarders or collectors?
No, they were. Mom only had the finest stuff, and we would. I got my first job at 10 years old working at Tate's Auction down in the peninsula of San Francisco, and then later I was a weekly feature at all the Butterfield auctions happening in San Francisco. We'd spend our summers traveling to Missouri, where the auction culture was huge. And man, did we just would bring back truckloads of antiquities because after retiring from a San Francisco corporate world job, my father immediately opened up an antique store. The store was down in Burlingame, 15 miles south of San Francisco, and this served as a gateway into the world of antiquities and appraisals for me. And then just a few years after graduating from college, I took a few other jobs, did this and that, but I always came back to antiques. Mm-hmm. I loved them. Had a great store in Burlingame to find these things, fix them up, and put them back out. I took the necessary test, I think in the early 80s, early 80s. And I paid all these fees, and actually took a very hard test and became a California state licensed auctioneer. And then a few years after that, I was running a chain of antique stores and importing vintage chattel in the Bay Area for sale at auction. That, in a nutshell, was my career, and I've done it for over 50 years now. Yeah, I was doing it actually when I was 14, when Dad retired.
Don't give everything away already. We have many more questions
All right.
to go through. So let me do this part here.
Yeah, you're going to do it? Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right. You are tuned into KCW 100.7 FM in Brookings, Oregon. We wish to continue to thank major supporters of community radio. I'm not going to do it. Dan and Phyllis Schmidt, and your constant friendly support. Thank you. Thank you, Nick Rail and his 501c3 project, Partnership for the Performing Arts Center, or a PPA. Soon to be constructed in Crescent City and serving all of our region. Also, the reimagined Crescent Harbor Art Gallery, where Jacque is a
501c3, right?
It's in Crescent City, anchored in the harbor right next to the boats.
Yep. That's where it's at.
And our region's only bowling center, Tsunami Lanes on 101 in Midtown Crescent City. Thank you. And Jacque, Kepner, and me, we're thanking ourselves too for being a
Major
supporting
supporters.
member. Yes.
KCIW. All right. Where was I? I was
So
talking
now
about
you can go on.
what I did for 50 years. That's what I did for. But
Yeah.
I want to say I slowly eased out of auctioning and retired from owning brick and mortar. I had 5 shops at one time between Sacramento and San Francisco, down the peninsula. I was kind of spread out all over.
Cool.
I had these brick and mortar businesses in the late 90s. I closed them all down. Instead, at that point, I focused in and specialized in the antique art and vintage and collectible appraisal business, kind of what they do on TV's Antique Roadshow. Very popular show on PBS.
Dang, yeah, even I've seen that. When it comes to antiques and treasures, there are so many categories. Is it overwhelming or is it not? How can you come to know all those many different things?
All right. Well, the short answer to that is I have to know just a little bit about so many of these things. Just think about this short abbreviated list I'm going to rattle off to you.
Yeah.
There's paintings, rugs, pottery, cars, toys, clocks, all art, jewelry, coins, military and war stuff, firearms, paper ephemera, radio LPs, film, telephone, sports stuff, cards, ivory, nautical stuff, everything musical, a lot there. All types and styles of furniture, even more there. Dolls and books and comics and all types and styles of glass and ceramics and pottery, statues, bronze and brass, medical stuff, oriental stuff, political stuff, Indian items, Tiffany, textiles, clothing, farm items, tools. Oh my goodness, it goes on and on and on.
Jeez.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Wow. So honestly, how can you know about so many of these things?
That's easy. I do not. Seriously.
Like that.
Maybe AI knows it. But again, I know just enough about many things to have a general idea of what the items are and their approximate values.
And where did you learn so much?
Well, again, that childhood upbringing in auctions and going to auctions and living in the auction atmosphere and selling them, getting the hands-on, following my dad into homes and doing that stuff. I learned from the school of literally hard knocks, where mainly I was privy, since that young man, into venturing into thousands, literally thousands of estates, homes, and businesses all over that were just full of treasure. I've seen so many things, but anyone that tells you they know it all, don't trust them, because they don't. What we use in the industry, or we used to, now it's changing with the advent of the phone and the internet. But what we used to use in the industry was called satellites, or people that knew everything there is to know about just one field or one of those genres that I just mentioned.
The divers, not the skimmers, huh?
Not the
the diving?
Yeah, you know about this stuff, okay. They know just one field of or type of antique or collectible. Like, I had friends that were pottery mark experts. Or
pottery marks, just a mark on the pottery.
Right. Oh, there's silverware. I forgot about silverware. There's so much. They're rug experts. What was a Persian? What was a Turkish? What was the Indian? I mean, you need to know all these things, and there's huge money in those old rugs. Glass, amazing. Just think about how much glassware there is out there. It's
right?
just staggering. I had coin, big thing. What is it called? Numismatic collectors that knew their stuff on coins. And then the one, I don't even want to try to, I forgot. I'm rusty. I'm retired. But stamp collectors, stamp experts. Oh, my goodness.
Everybody had their little stamp collection.
Anyways, in a pinch, they did. Everybody had a little collection. I would go to them, and I'd get an approximate valuation of the items that needed to be appraised. Today, as in so many other areas, as I just mentioned, it's been touched by technology. And things are vastly changing as we speak, mainly with the advent of the internet, and there are apps now that narrow down so much of this information floating around and on the markets, which is both good and bad.
Now, how can you still get a good deal? Where can you do it? Facebook, Marketplace, thrift stores, garage sales,
Yeah, those are good areas to sell them things. There are deals that are to be made out there, and we've all heard about the Picasso painting, for instance. Just a few years back, that sold at a garage sale for $50.
Yeah,
that's
right.
$40 million. But these stories are, in truth, pretty rare and infrequent. I used to, in my heyday, price for the Goodwill Industries. I volunteered. It was a nonprofit entity, right? It's huge. Everybody knows Goodwill.
Yeah.
They had a huge distribution warehouse just outside of Stockton, California. And every 2 weeks, I'd jump in the car from San Francisco and I'd head east and I'd go into their vault. They had this massive warehouse. And inside this massive warehouse, they had this vault, this huge inner building within the building. To do this every 2 weeks, and I'd appraise hundreds, thousands of items that they had stockpiled from all of their donation facilities. Now, remember, that's how they used to do it, whether they still do or not, but anything you donated to Goodwill in the past would go to a distribution center and then get checked out. They needed to have me to be the expert that would check things over prior to the items being shipped out and then distributed to their retail stores. So they were careful about not wanting to pass by on a Picasso for $50, right? So they had
or the $50 in a purse that somebody didn't check.
That's right. I forgot purses. Well, textile and clothing partially. I did that for years. So at least with the Goodwill, 95% of the time, nothing of extreme value is going to be overlooked and put out on the shelves of their thrift stores. Right. I don't know what the other ones are doing, but that's okay. Today, again, that could all be changed. I don't know. But like I said, there's plenty of apps on your phone that give you pretty much instant appraisals of collectibles and antiques.
What are some of those hot collectibles right now?
Wow. Okay, so let me tell you what's not collectible.
Yeah.
Furniture. Amazing deals that could be had on furniture these days. Victorian furniture, just turn of the century furniture. It's bargain basement. There's beautiful Victorian dressers that I could buy now half the cost of what I was paying for them when I used to be a direct importer from England, for instance.
Yeah.
And it's just collapsed. Most of glassware and porcelain and dishware is out. It's cold as last year's pudding. Prints, so many people contact me for prints, and I just yawn. I got a print. It's a Ducks Unlimited print. And it's like, it's $50. Try to get it, right? You see them at the thrift stores for $20 and then see them there week after week. Because I think, this is my opinion, today's younger populace, they want functionality and they're minimalist.
Yeah.
Really, my kids I walked in their house, far from the house that I grew up in, with everything, all the wall space taken. There's like nothing on the walls. The kids today, in fact, they don't want anything much bigger than what they can fit in their hands, like their phones, right?
Yeah.
So like trading cards of all kinds are super hot commodity, right? They're
small,
right?
Yeah.
You can switch them out.
You can put them behind your phone in the glove compartment.
Right. There we go.
Lots of people know you from the Instagram or Facebook posts when you offer free text and verbal appraisals for art and antiques. Why do you do that, and where's the catch?
Well, first off, no strings attached. People, I'll tell you right now, I put it out there on the word. There's no strings attached. It's free means free. Just send me some good, try to get unblurred, clear pictures of your treasure. And give me some history about that treasure and maybe some of the dimensional notes about it. If it's a table, tell me how tall it is, how wide it is. If it's a chair, is it a baby's chair? Is it a mid chair? I can't tell from pictures, but give me good history and dimensional notes about it. And then, guess what? I could text you free appraisal over the phone. Zero catch, no problem whatsoever. I love doing this, in fact, because it keeps my brain fresh and young. Because I know chattel. I know chattel very well.
Yeah, you know it. You mentioned chattel before. What is chattel?
Chattel is a herd that says,
right?
Oh, that's cattle. I'm sorry. No, chattel is everything inside an estate. So when I go into a estate, everything inside that, it's everything that could be physically removed in or out of a dwelling, technically. It's not the house itself. That's not what I appraise, just all of that personal property. And I mean everything inside of it. I've been court order appraiser for years as California State and would have to go in and decide, on a divorce situation, who, what, when, where. Goes half and half. And that's so all the chattel is all the antiques in that house, all the clothing, all the furniture, the jewelry, the cars, the toasters, the TVs, computers, everything within a house is called collectively chattel, Chattel. Chattel and real estate are two very distinct animals. People often think that I am a real estate appraiser, and I am not. And I do not appraise real estate. I only appraise the chattel. All that stuff inside the house and not the house itself. Again, that's real estate.
Now, why should people get their things appraised?
Wow. I mean, there's a lot of reasons, right? People inherit stuff from an aunt that passes away or handed down from your parents, or maybe you go up in an attic and you find something up there, then you bring it, or maybe you bought something recently at a garage sale or a yard sale. Everyone has some valuable chattel in their homes.
Do we?
We do.
Yeah.
We have some very good chattel. But I always ask, why not get it appraised? Remember, I said that 95% of the things that I evaluate are just kind of the regular collectible chattel. Nothing
Posters.
Spectacular.
Yeah.
But then, there is that 5% that's out there that just might be a Picasso or $100,000 Persian rug, or you can name it. So I would say just be smart. Either have me or go to another qualified appraiser to give you an idea of what your treasure is worth.
So let's pretend somebody sends you a picture and it happens that somebody has something really super valuable. What happens after that?
All right, well, that's cool. Good question, because therein is where I may be able to help you sell your valuable item through my contacts and auction affiliations. If you got a Picasso, then maybe I could tell you that it's a Picasso. Then let me represent it at auction for a small percentage fee. And I'm talking on a Picasso, I'll give you 0.5% of 1%, whatever, for a small percentage. And it's a win-win situation. Let's together travel to Christie's or Sotheby's auction houses in New York City or London, and woohoo, I know that business well. I know the auction world. I'll get us in the door, past all the paperwork and all the things you have to do, and then we can live it up. Because if you got a Picasso, that's wonderful. Now, I got to tell people this. People they think I'm a buyer. They think that I'm just going to do this for anybody and everything. If you want an insurance appraisal of your treasure, then that will cost you. Because if I have to write something down and send it to your insurance adjusters in all the right forms and format, that's different. But actually these days, I rarely do court-appointed or insurance appraisals of chattel because I'm available just to give you free text and verbal appraisals of your goodies.
Do you ever buy the items you appraise?
No. That's the short answer. There are clearly ethical issues with that. In fact, treat your valuable chattel like you would with your health. Get a second opinion. People often think that I'm a buyer. They see, that guy, he could appraise treasure. They think I'm a buyer. I rarely buy anything or purchase anything anymore. I really don't. I have divested of my goodies. I'm getting up there in age. I've had enough treasures, and I don't want to be the ghost in the graveyard holding on to the most loot. As you know, it's fun to frequent antique stores and thrift shops, etc., especially when we're out on the road. We love doing that, right? Mm-hmm. But goodness gracious, there's so many more important things to collect, dear doctor. Like love and friendships and travel and good wine, right?
Yeah. Now, what is the oldest thing you've ever owned or evaluated?
Well, Reese Simon ranks up there. Keeping him on his toes. Oldest thing I've ever owned is a gladius. Gladius from the 2nd century A.D. The gladius is the name of the short sword that the common infantry Roman soldier would carry. I've appraised ancient Greek and Egyptian antiquities. Absolutely. Never owned any, but I've appraised them, which leads me to a funny story, if I may. Okay.
Well, please do.
Well, I'll make this quick because I see we're getting kind of close to where we need to kind of
Well, we have a couple minutes.
People contact me quite often. They say, hey, Jacque, I have a very, very, very old item I need to have appraised. So while they're telling me that, I'm hearing very, very, very. If you say very, very, very old to me, I'm thinking Egyptian times. But then, guess what? They say, oh, no, it's very, very old item is a set of McDonald's glassware from 1974 with Ronald McDonald's face emblazoned on them. I mean, Jesus, gee whiz, really, seriously.
Now, okay, speaking of old things, though, how old does something have to be an antique?
How old is it? Okay, that's a good question. Technically, an antique has to be 100 years old.
At least.
That is not my opinion. Rather, that is the established rules of regulation of trade and tariffs on things like that on the international custom agencies like the U.S. Customs Service, which states that an item must be at least 100 years old to be considered an antique. Other words, that would describe valuable chattel is if it's not 100 years old, then you could call it, if it's 75 years old, say, just call it vintage, or you'd call it a collectible.
Okay. Now, what is the most valuable thing you've ever owned?
Oh, my goodness. I have owned many treasures that were valuable. I've owned Tiffany pieces. If you ever see anything marked on nice glassware that says LCT, contact me immediately. Louis Comfort Tiffany, that's a signed piece. Paintings have sold for hundreds of thousands of dollars that I have owned. After I sold them for tens of thousands, years later they'd surface and sell for 100,000. 20 years ago, I owned a 1955 Porsche pre-356C Porsche that I sold for under $50,000, and which today, 20 years later, is well worth over, get this, $500,000, $500,000. Oh, well, you win some and you lose some.
Yeah, it's also 20 years.
Yep. I've also owned exquisite German Meissen, hard-paste porcelain from the early 1700s.
Whoa.
That's world-famous chattel.
Yeah. We've got that at home.
But you know the most valuable thing that I own today, dear doctor?
What?
Your heart and your affections.
Thank you. What's the hardest things for you to appraise?
The hardest thing for me to appraise, hands down, is Oriental stuff. Oh, my goodness. Asian chattel like pottery, ceramic figurines, and vases.
Why?
Unfortunately, forgeries are all too common, and it's just not a new thing. Forgeries have been going on for a long, long time. I just kind of don't get Oriental stuff. It's too much foreign intervention, I guess. I've been blatantly fooled, I'll admit it, too many times by incredibly detailed and perfect fakes and imposters. And it's not always just Oriental pottery.
Now, how do you tell if something is a forgery?
Well, most of the time it's just an intuition or something does not have the right feel to it. I've seen enough stuff, looked at it, felt it. Great story as that is recently one of our friends, came in with a 300-year-old silver Chinese coin that one that had it was beautiful with a square hole in the center, as many Chinese coins do. It was so rare and nearly perfect. It was worth, really, the books I was looking up on was saying $250,000 and more. It looked completely authentic. It had all the right marks on it. It had the right shape and the look to it. But when I finally got it out of its little case and held it in my hand and rubbed it between my thumb and index, I noticed there was slight sharpness around the rim of that square peg hole. It was a little bit light also. But that sharpness would be something that you would never feel that. You'd never be rough because this thing was a 300-year-old coin.
Supposedly.
The symbols and monetary numbers were just too perfect.
Right.
And with that, I surmised that it had been manufactured and forged, I'm going to say, within the past 50 years. It just didn't have the feel that I felt it should have. So 99.9% of 300-year-old coins will be well worn. So
right.
I was just feeling it.
Bummer.
Yeah, what a bummer indeed. And this leads me to a final subject. I see we just got to get rocking here, almost to the end of the show. That is having to be the bearer of bad news to folks. I don't like talking about that part, but people become so imbued and excited about what they think is a super valuable item that they own. People watch Antiques Roadshow on the television all the time, right? And
right.
see what these priceless treasures people have discovered or own. But people are also intrigued by those people that are told by an appraiser that their item is not valuable, that they think is so valuable.
And they show that on TV too.
Or as a forgery, or is essentially worthless. I get this all the time. People want to believe that they have, what they own is an authentic, priceless treasure. So when I go to people's homes and I see that they are enamored with, let's say, an antique chair, okay, just call it an antique, and they think that chair is worth $100,000, I'm the guy that has to give them bad news that actually it's a knockoff and it's worth maybe $100. And you talk about deflation. It's not a good vibe in that room when I tell them that. But hey, I can always tell them, and I usually do, that if they really love it and it makes them happy, then that alone is worth $1 million. I call it happiness over wealth.
Well, so true. How do people get a hold of you?
All right. If people want to get a hold of me, grab a pen and paper and write down this information. I'll give you my phone number, amongst other things. Again, I get dozens of folks weekly sending me pictures of their treasures for free appraisals. Be smart. Get it appraised, either by me or somebody else. It's free, and I've got a lifetime of great references to back it up. First off, my Facebook name and phone number is a great way to message me on Facebook, and that is Jacque Kepner, and that's Jacques, Kepner, K-E-P as in Paul, and then N-E-R, Kepner, Jacque Kepner. Look me up on Facebook, and you can message me or friend me, and then we could go from there. My cell phone number, here it is. I'll put it out there because I prefer cell phone texting over anything. It's better, it's quicker, it's more efficient. I check it all the time. It's always on me, blah, blah, blah.
No, the Facebook messaging is not.
Yeah, I don't get notified all the time for that. My cell phone number is 510-881-3679. So it's 510-881-3679. People say, you hang yourself, man. You're giving out your number. I get enough scam calls anyways. Everything figured out. So text me. Say, hey, Mr. Kepner or Jacque, just heard about you, and we'd love to have you. Would you be interested in talking to us about what we think is a treasure? So there is that. You could also email me at whatitsworthjacque, whatitsworthjacque, all uppercase, at gmail.com. Okay?
What's it worth, Jacque?
Yeah.
That's a long.
510-881-3679 is most probably the best way, or just Facebook me, message me. And I'm always happy. I'm excited. And maybe you have that Picasso out there. Maybe you got an original
Persian work.
They know there's 3 or 4 missing copies of the American
and it will be
Constitution,
on this
right?
coastline.
We don't. It could be, but remember, people migrated to California years ago, and a big went to the West Coast, and so lots of treasures came with them.
Yeah, right? Very cool. Thank you.
You are more than welcome. Thank you. Wait, we got 6 minutes for what are we going to do now?
No, we got Fun time corner. Woohoo!
What do we got today? We got some good jokes. We got some great quotes. I really like the quotes you got. I sent you most of them. Did you get them? I hope. Yeah.
All right, let me start then.
Okay.
Quote. Antiques are the epitome of reclaim, recycle, and reuse.
Oh, is that not true, right?
Yeah.
They are the epitome of reclaim, recycle, reuse. We should all do that. We should all try to reclaim and recycle, reuse instead of use, and produce, and then throw away like bottles. One more.
I like things that have survived the test of time in the nooks and crannies of the past.
Oh, that is
great.
That is magical. I love things that have survived the test of time in the nooks and crannies of the past. Hey, oh, darn it, I already told you that one. I asked Dr. Gigi this morning how I looked, and she said, duh, with your eyes.
The medical approach.
Yeah. All right, give us another.
If an antique makes you smile and gives you pleasure and pride, isn't its value priceless?
Oh, so true.
That's
it. That's what I tell those people. They go, hey, if you love this thing and it's part of your family and you think it's $100,000, then it's priceless, okay? A young boy asks his father, do you know what a solar eclipse is? The father answers, no, son.
No, son.
You get it.
I got it.
I don't think Ray Simon got it, though. Okay, what was even more important than the first telephone?
What?
A second telephone.
To call to.
You need to have.
Right, that's a good one, yeah.
That's a good one. Okay, what else you got?
A great thing about antiques is realizing that you can breathe new life into an old object.
Right on. That is so cool. You know, when you discover, we'll occasionally buy an old lamp, or we'll buy a chair or something. We'll buy something at the thrift store or Craigslist or whatever. And it's fun to reinvent those pieces and breathe new life into them.
Right.
What do you call a French man who has been attacked by a cat? Meow. What do you call?
What?
Claude. We got over 4.5 minutes left of this. We better slow it down.
I know it.
All right.
Antiquing is all about the hunt, the thrill, and the excitement of uncovering things that you never expected to find.
Oh, so true, right? The excitement. There's excitement about going out, especially when you're on the road, you're traveling, and you get to go into a new town or city and out in the country, and you see a sign that says antiques. Man, is that ever fun, right? When you go in, or thrift store, and you go in.
I like the ones where you can breathe new life in it. You change the color, you change whatever you do, whether you personally put a gator head or something on there to make it make art of it.
Oh, my gator head. I put the antlers on it.
Yeah.
I was going to bring it. But I thought it might scare Tom Bozak. And Linda. Linda might not like it. Hey, do you know how I make an apple turnover?
How?
Duh. I roll it down a hill.
You're actually a good cook, so you could make a apple turnover cooking thingy. Isn't it called apple turnover?
Yep.
An antique is anything old with class.
Oh, I love that one too. That's so cool.
Yeah.
All right. Mm-hmm. All right. What do you say when you notice a chicken looking at a salad?
I don't know.
You say, chicken sees a salad.
Oh.
Chicken sees a salad. Chicken Caesar salad. Yeah. Okay, that one bombs.
Yeah, that's pretty good. I'll get one off here. Never forget that the best antiques are dear old friends. Like my car, right?
Yeah,
I have a hard time getting rid of it.
Hey, why are dogs not allowed in bars?
Why?
Because they can't control their liquor. Hey, I went to a really emotional wedding last week. Yeah, even the cake was in tears.
That's sad. A sign seen outside a country store.
Oh, what? What did it say?
We buy junk. We sell antiques.
That's kind of true, you know. Yeah. Some cases.
Your antique stores that you like.
Hey, I finally quit drinking for good. Mm-hmm. Now I'm just drinking for evil.
Okay, listen to this. This is good for me. Forget about facial wrinkles. They're just antique smiles.
They're antique smiles. You know, here's one I like, one of these quotes that you have: nothing haunts us as much as the antiques we didn't buy.
Right.
They go up.
That you still say that sometimes.
Yeah.
I saw this in Missouri 50 years ago. I should have bought
I should have.
Yeah, you still sometimes say that.
I love older things that people have used and cherished because they have personality, character, and soul.
Right.
So,
yep.
What else you got?
It is strange that I like
going... Is it strange?
Is it strange that I like going to flea markets more than the mall?
Oh, that's a classic one.
Well, we're good. We don't have a mall, and we have flea markets, so that's good.
Antiquing is nothing more than embracing the elegance of the past.
Yeah, so true.
All right, what else? You got a couple more?
Less is more, but antiques are forever.
Right on. Hey,
100 years.
You know, I'd be a morning person, doctor, if morning started at 1 p.m.
That's a funny one.
All right. What else?
Okay, we're done. Do you have one more?
No, I thought you had one more quote.
Nope, I don't.
Okay.
But you have a joke.
All right. How do you make... You see it? Why don't you ask me that one?
Hey, how do you make an idiot say how?
How?
Oh, that was for me. I thought
Duh. Wow. All right. I think
guess what, everybody? You have been listening to the Doc and Jacque Radio Variety Show on KCRW 100.7 FM in Brookings, Oregon. We hope you have enjoyed our show as much as we have.
Everybody, thanks for tuning in. It's been a fun show. Next week, we got lots of good guests, and shows after that, we got a lot of people coming in regularly. Stay there for Tony Dorso show right now, happening right after this program. Thanks so much.
Goodbye.
Peace and love. Bye-bye.